Welcome to
The Dork-Bajir Chronicles,
where an expert
and a new expert,
read through K.A. Applegate's stunning sci-fi serial.
Animorphs.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Come on, get in here.
Hello and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time and then talk about it every week. Today we'll be talking about book 53, The Answer. I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, ain't an expert yet. But at this point, I'm a fucking veteran.
We are going to start off with some Mail! Ooh yeah! Mail! Ooh yeah! So at the top of this fan mail, I would like to make a formal apology. I've only just now realized that the fan mail, most of the fan mail that we read last week was ones that we already read about the gorilla butt. Yeah. This week, we have a fan mail from myself when I was reading this book at my office earlier today and just, like, about to cry. Like, how am I supposed to do work after this? I read the book over my lunch break, and then after, then I had to do work after that. Can I take a sick day?
This one generated a bit of conversation, so, I think it's worth one fan. I think it's worth an entire fan mail. Movie polls replied to you, oh man, I've only read that and 54 once. I wonder, can you tell the difference in the writing? What with 52 being the last ghost-written one?
Oh, so last week it was the last ghost-written one.
Yes, I suppose.
Did we talk about... I feel like we just talked about last week about how it was the first one written by K.A. Applegate.
Yeah, were we incorrect about that?
I think we might have been... What we did was we accidentally had a time splice situation.
Right.
Where Elemist opened up a little portal, there was a Sario rip.
Yes!
All that stuff we said last week, we actually meant to talk about for Jake's book. This is really solid Jake narration. Like, it's really close because the Ghostwriters were so good last week, we thought that was actually Catherine and Michael. But, like, this was the one. This Jake's is the book that it just feels like it's literally stepped up a notch. It's just a bit better.
Big Duck Energy at Panda Docs also replies to you. If I get too deep into a conversation about this series, I too go straight into my feelings. Some people are angry about the ending, but I felt like it was perfect.
We won't talk about the ending yet, though. Instead, we're going to talk about the content of book 53. Braden,
right.
Tell me about this very sad book.
Okay. So, we open up in media res. The Animorphs are watching as their city, the city of Redacted, is bombarded by bug ships. Dracon beams, fucking missiles firing, they're destroying elementary schools, they're destroying churches, they're destroying high-rises, they're destroying everything. And they are making this gigantic circle. At first, the Animorphs think the Yeerks are trying to send some sort of message now that their Yeerk pool has been destroyed in the last book. It's the world's largest sinkhole they talk about. But then they realize that's not what they're doing. They are making a gigantic circle deliberately so that they can make basically like a big open field that they can see anyone coming from any direction. And that's when they land a gigantic football field sized ship in the middle of this circle.
Mm-hmm.
A pool ship.
The pool ship
itself,
yes. That's been hovering in orbit outside of Earth's range the whole book.
The mother of all targets, Marco calls it. But now it's in one of the most defendable locations probably on the planet Earth. Now everybody knows that they exist, but this obviously means Visor 1 is going into high fucking velocity. It is incredibly quick escalation from here. Like
it has to end now or else humanity loses.
Exactly.
Is the situation. They've got like one last try. They can try and blow up the pool ship.
At this point, they get together and they all talk
Right
about...
before then, if I may, remember a couple of episodes ago when I mentioned something about them being like, I don't know, 16?
Yes,
And
yes.
you didn't believe me?
Well...
Jake just says, hey, my name's Jake Berenson. I started this war when I was 13. I'm now 16 years old. I haven't been in school in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What's up?
I do have that next in my notes. I believe this comes up during the conversation. Or
it's while they're flying. It's kind of during the narration while they're flying and looking over all the destruction.
Jake's last name.
Yeah.
Wowzers.
Here we go.
Mr. Jake Berenson, who we now learn is nearly 6 foot. Wow.
Yeah. He's huge.
He's a big, big boy.
I mean, he's 16, so it would make sense. He's gone through his growth spurt, but good God, boy.
They realize they need to make a plan, and they need to make it fast. One other thing that they noticed during this attack was that there was a seemingly sourceless cloud of dust a bit to the south.
There's like a cloud, I think it was smoke,
Smoke, yeah. And they get, this is the point where, Jake is still not all that trusting of Cassie. This is sort of the book will work through it, but...
Yeah. He also talks about how he talks about his emotional moment in book 50 where he was like, you know what, I have to be the leader. The time for second guessing is gone. The time for, like, hemming and hawing if I did the right thing is gone. All we have left now is action. He actually orders people a lot more in this book than he has in any other book. He started to do it in book 50, but he was being a bit irrational then. In this one, he's doing it in pretty cool and calculated ways. Like, he just immediately orders Tobias, hey, go check out that smoke there.
Yeah.
Though
where the way they talk about this, before that, they are having a meeting and Jake dismisses everyone but the core Animorphs and James, but leaves out Cassie's name.
He just says,
he says it was a mistake, but he can't go back on it now.
He just says, hey, all right, everybody's gonna leave. Can I get Rachel, Tobias, Marco, Axe, Eva, Toby, and James to stay? And then he realizes that he didn't say Cassie's name.
Yeah. And everybody gives him fucking the stink eye about it.
Tobias is like Cassie's biggest.
Yeah. Later on, he gets Tobias one-on-one, and Jake is like, okay, I need you to do this thing. And Tobias is like, stop right fucking there. What you did to Cassie was unacceptable.
You need to apologize to her. And then he tells Marco
Jake is like, shut the fuck up, Tobias. Shut the fuck up, everybody. I am trying to keep us from dying in an alien nuclear holocaust. Shut the fuck up. Like, he is just so fucking close to snapping in this book, and I felt it. Like, the rest of this book is actually, it's very much them making a plan. And actually, it goes
very well. It's a very good plan. But yeah, this bit in the beginning,
in your heart,
Jake
the whole
is
time.
like, he's just on there by his fingertips.
Yeah.
There was a part here. While they are flying about in the very beginning of the book, they notice that there are some Taxons digging another Yerk pool. Or maybe that's what Tobias says.
He orders Tobias to go check out the smoke that they saw. And he comes and he reports back, it was Taxons. They're digging another new Yerk pool. Not just the pool ship, they are putting on a landed base. And they start discussing, well, obviously we need to destroy this construction site. And Cassie says, we don't need to destroy the hull. We need to destroy the equipment. And that equipment is the Taxons.
Get in there, destroy the shovels, you can't dig a hole.
Exactly.
The idea being that they want to blow up the pool ship. Jake doesn't really have a plan. He has some idea about how he comes up with it later, they'll cause a diversion and try and sneak on the pool ship. Before then, they'll already be on the pool ship. And, like, if this Yerk pool gets built, then the pool ship's going to take off as soon as it can. They do not have time to waste.
It's at this point, they go and they do this. They manage to pull this off. With a little bit of trickery. They get to the construction site. They infiltrate as morphs. Oh, quick mention. It is noted that Cassie did this, that she pulled off, that she had the idea to kill a bunch of a specific species. And everyone is very weirded out by that, but, like, maybe a little bit relieved by the fact that finally Cassie is getting it.
Yeah, so that's their idea, is they injure the Taxons, and then the Taxons will just eat each other. So they just go in and come out guns a-blazing, basically.
We go to the new constructed Yerk pool at this point, or the constructing Yerk pool at this point, and they begin this plan. Big battle. There's a lot of like trickery. There's dudes with guns. Rachel at one point there's a little bit of, I think, maybe a printing error or something else in here, where she turns into a Dork-Bajir and tries to trick some other Dork-Bajir by like yelling like, "Quit firing, fools!"
That's in a different section that we actually glossed over. Just before they attack the construction site, I just remembered, they need some firepower. So there were jets that were fighting against the bug fighters that they saw earlier this day. So when when Jake gives Tobias his chore, he also gives Marco a chore. Look for whoever, like, use your hacks for skills and try and find whoever in the government is leading this alien task force.
Right.
They find him. He's nearby. They infiltrate. Jake demorphs
in a large underground military base, like a bunker.
Jake demorphs in front of him a couple of times, and then they keep throwing him in jail. And then he's like, "No, this is serious.
Yeah.
You need to stay in here for 3 days to burn out any Yerks that might be in your soldiers' heads, and then we can have you as a diversion. We need to do this final stand."
And the general's like, "Son, I'm a general. I don't do diversions." And he's like, "You're gonna."
Cool.
And
this is what we need from you.
Yeah.
So that's what happened just before this, and
Yes.
then they go, and that's part of where, because Yerks start attacking there, and that's when Rachel morphs to Dork-Bajir and tries to trick them. But they use very similar trickery when they sneak into the construction site, and now they're just wailing on Taxons.
Yeah.
And it's confusing because it's happening so fast that the Yerks don't know it's happening, and then they're like, "Okay, we'll fight for 5 more seconds, and then we'll go." And bug fighters just start shooting. One of the auxiliary Animorphs actually dies.
Yes.
Ray dies. A couple of the free Dork-Bajir die. Jake, something weird happens to Jake.
Yeah. He ends up falling. He is blasted at, and he falls into the ground, and ends up being cornered by 3 Taxons with Dracon beams. And then one of them thought speaks to him. "We don't want to kill you. This is just so we can talk." And they drop the Dracon beams. And Jake says, "What the fuck is up with this?" And the main Taxon, the one who's oddly thought-speaking, says, "I represent the Taxon, resistance to the Yerks. They don't want to give us morphing powers, because then we'll be something that isn't hungry, and they won't be able to control us. I want to switch sides. I want to join you. I want you to help me convince the other Taxons to do so. My name is Arbron."
Bum, bum, bum!
Yeah, buddy!
How did you feel, Brayden, when you read that?
I fucking loved it.
Did
this
you-
idea?
Did you have any idea it was coming? Did you have any idea?
It did not cross my mind
I'm
even
so
one
excited.
bit.
I'm so
not
excited.
even a little.
That's so good.
Like,
That must have felt so good reading it. Just like, what the fuck? This throwaway character from the fucking Andalite Chronicles is
literally
back?
throwaway. Literally, he was so important, and then instead of killing him, he literally got thrown into a big pile of bugs and became a bug.
He's a bug boy.
So he sets up this plan, and Jake is like, "Fuck yeah, this is amazing. You have Arbron says a specific number. It's like 1,000 and some.
It's over 1,000. It's like
over
1,000.
1,000.
And a couple of hundred, which is like, they were just earlier talking about how they wish they could find the chi so that they can know how many Taxons they have to kill.
Yeah.
But there's 1,000 resistance fighters they have now. All these guys want to do is get morphing powers and morph something
that won't feel this endless addiction to just eating crap.
Arbron even says he knows that he can't morph anymore because he's a Nothlid. It won't work that way. He just wants this for his Taxon siblings. He's like proud to be a Taxon. He says, like, Jake's like, "You're an Andalite." He's like, "No, I'm a Taxon. I have been a Taxon." He's been a Taxon for longer than he's been an Andalite, is my guess.
I wonder how much of that is just like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just getting used to it,
That's the only thing you can do to survive.
The only thing you can do, and how much is
I mean, it's the
having
same.
been part of a literal hive mind for so long.
That's true. Taxons do have the hive mind, so it could definitely convince him, but I think it's literally just because he's been living as a Taxon for so long.
Yeah, true.
Like, Tobias thinks of himself as a hawk. Even in this book, Jake talks about, like, Tobias is Rachel's boyfriend, I guess, even though he's a bird. Like, they think of him as a bird. He's a bird boy, but he's a bird first. And Arbron is a Taxon first, so they want him to come back alone to, like, say, hey, yes, I and do a presentation for the Taxons. Jake leaves and goes back to the Dork-Bajir Valley.
And it's
everyone thought
everybody...
he was dead.
Everyone thought he was dead, and, like, everyone is barely excited to see him again. Honestly, it is...
Well, I mean,
I
they
don't
don't describe it much. I do wish they described it more, because I think it's like...
I think they described it enough. Like, Naomi, his own fucking aunt, Rachel's mom, is like, funny seeing you? Just something like...
No, Marco says that. Marco says, I guess I'll have to give back your CDs. He's the one that cracks the joke.
No, Rachel's mom
Naomi
says...
does too?
Naomi says something like, funny seeing you here. Or, like, something that sounds sincere, but Jake notes the, like, sarcasm and edge to it. Even, like...
I don't think that's right after he dies. I'm pretty sure that's not.
No, that is right after he dies.
God
Literally.
damn, what?
Yes.
Go to the book.
Even Axe is like, oh, Jake, I am very glad to see you, but why have you interrupted my night prayers? Just like...
No. That's the next morning. This is the next morning.
Yes,
he shows up. He's excited, and then that's the same night they sleep. The very next morning, he tells everybody what happened.
No, he specifically says, "I am glad you are alive. This is the first time I am noticing you are alive again. Why have you fucking? Why have you interrupted me?"
So he showed up in the morning and was going to tell everybody the plan. Let's make a big meeting, and nobody cares that he's alive. That's so cold.
See, I was good. Yeah, just like I feel like everyone has just. It seems like the insinuation is like Jake is the leader, even though he is so dejected and depressed and beaten down. And at this point, everybody resents him for it. Even his best fucking friend in the world just cracks wise when he comes back from the dead. Jake is fucking slogging to the end of this race. He is waist deep in this swamp to the finish line. And there is no fucking vines to pull himself up on.
I will say in a lighthearted bit, this moment when Jake brings everybody in for a great big town hall meeting, he uses the word frowsy to describe the adults who are like, they're like frowning and drowsy, and I really like that word. I want to use it more. So Jake tells them, and Cassie... Oh, wait, we forgot one last thing that happens with the Taxons, is that, oh, no, sorry.
No, we didn't. That's not yet.
That's not yet.
Yeah. Okay. They did arrange for a later meeting because Arbron wants Jake to talk to the rest of the Taxons.
Yes.
To convince them and show them...
To promise them in person.
And show them, like, what Earth can give them as, like, better bodies.
A suggestion for a morph to Nothlin into.
Yes.
I don't know if we fully explained it. The idea being that they want Jake to verbally promise that they will do.
Yeah.
That if they help the humans and the humans win, they will do whatever is in their power to convince the Analite High Council that the Taxons deserve morphing abilities, and that they're all going to Nothlit the same kind of animal.
Yeah.
They don't get to pick and choose.
They do not. It's also at this point, Cassie kind of says outright, it's halfway between insinuating and saying it outright, that she thought that this sort of thing, it's sort of alluded to in the last book, like, oh no, the Yeerks will want to be free if they can morph, they could just become birds and shit instead of worms. But she makes it halfway explicit.
It seem like, hey, yeah, I planned this.
That was my plan all along. I knew the Taxons would do it. Why didn't you tell anybody? Why didn't you use that as your excuse then?
It's not. I think the idea is that she just found this, like, she realized that this could be a possibility and then put all of her feelings into it as if, yes, this is what I planned. It wasn't an impulsive decision. It was a great plan that paid off instead of just dumb luck. Like, that's kind of where she's doing it, I think, to get rid of her guilt at having potentially lost the war. Now it's a good thing. And she's like, yes, I don't have to feel guilty about it. It was a good thing that I did that. It wasn't a bad thing. It's a book 19 all over again.
Yeah.
It pays off. And I love you, Cassie.
There's a little bit of humming and hawing. Like, I don't think Andalite High Command is going to be fine with this. Hum how, ho ha. But then they talk about, well, what morph are we going to give the Texans? Or are we going to suggest?
At that point, it is revealed that Axe is in contact with Andalite High Command.
Right, yes.
And that
everybody
Jake
is very pissed off at him, especially Rachel. Rachel straight out says, let me fucking kill him.
Cassie.
Which I don't know if it was supposed to be like a breakaway from if it was supposed to be played like sort of light and playful in the context of the book. But with everything else going on, it definitely doesn't play out like that.
This book, I mean, Cassie says that, like, I could be anybody, Axe, I could be a flea on your back. I think it's this book. It's either this one or the last one. Like, everybody is spying on Axe, who thought he was so sneaky and sneaking out of the Dork-Bajir camp, and everyone noticed. So then they have to decide what kind of morph would be good. The Texans want something that's about the same kind of physiology as them, not the kind of burning hunger. They don't want to worry about being prey animals. Yes. Cassie has the perfect idea.
And it is...
Well, first they go to the gardens for the very last time. Just her and Jake. And it's on, like, a skeleton crew is operating it just to try and keep the animals alive. And that's literally it. It's so, they talk about how filthy the gardens is. They have a little bit of a chat together, and then Cassie lets him into the anaconda room.
Yeah. The python. Anaconda?
No, it's anaconda.
Are anacondas a type of python?
I don't think so. Jake thinks it's a python because they kind of look the same, but
it's
just a really fucking huge snake. It's the biggest snake that exists, as far as I know.
And they're really chill, and they're calm, and they don't feel the hunger, and we just take this moment to... We just spend the moment with two teenage lovers who have been involved in a war for the past 3 years, just in each other's arms, in a place they know is safe. And Jake says, after all this, I want to marry you. And Cassie says, do you think that's a good idea? And Jake says, I can't think of any other ideas. They have a little bit of back and forth. Cassie's like, what are you going to do? What am I? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to become a vet. I'm going to work with animals. Jake, what are you going to do after this war? And Jake has sort of an answer about that. Just get a job. Maybe
driver's license?
Get a driver's license. Become an adult. And in this really quiet, intimate moment, honestly, I kind of looked at it. I read it a couple times. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave this moment. This 4-page stretch, I didn't want to see what happened on the other side.
It's so sad, bros. Like, I'm actually tearing up here just thinking about this. Like, one last time for everything, and then the war is going to be over. They're here planning the final stretch. Like, Jake asks Cassie to marry her. Like, do you want to marry me, please? And Cassie's final answer is, once the war is over, let's wait a year.
I'm actually just stewing in it. This is...
Like, when I was a kid, we're not going to actually do any theme songs, I think. Because I think the tonal shift of hearing grating OTP alert would be a bit odd in an episode like this. So I'm just going to talk about it right now.
Should we record a new, very somber
I'm just going to, like, put a filter on it right now that just plays it really slowly in the background.
I feel like we could discuss so much. Like, this is a crescendo. This is a climax to this very long relationship that we've seen come from two 13-year-olds.
They just liked each other at first. They didn't even kiss until book 26. You know, everybody knew that they were in love, but they didn't really show it to each other for so long. And as a kid, I never understood why Cassie would say no. I was always like, oh, come on. You're in love? Just get married. Be happy after the war. I was always sad that they never worked it out. And now looking at it as an adult, I'm like, this is the smartest decision they could have made. Like, Cassie understands this war more than any of the other kids. Like, she understands what it's doing to them psychologically, and she can she's also the only one who's really looking ahead after the war and making plans for after that. If you asked any of the other kids, what would you do after the war? I don't know if any of them would have plans. Cassie's going to go to school to become a doctor. Like, she knows what she's doing.
I love Cassie and Jake.
Right?
I love everything that we've gone through now.
Everything with them is so perfect. Like, they work so well together for so long, and then they don't. And then it's a poison. The very fact that they get along is like acid burning at them. And then now here in the end.
Tessa, you're getting so emotional.
I'm getting extremely emotional.
Oh my god, are they breaking up? Are they gonna break up at 54? What the fuck, Tessa?
I mean, it wasn't a yes.
Why would you spoil this with your tears?
I'm just really sad that they didn't, like, that they didn't. If they could have had a cute, happy wedding scene at the end of the war, right before the final battle.
Tessa, we have
that
so much.
Some cute Harry Potter
stuff.
Tessa,
we have so much more book to go through.
Let's
need to
get
do
back
something
into
fucked.
it. Well, you know what's funny?
What's
funny is that there's the Taxons build a Rube Goldberg machine. Like, they get Jake, so they get Jake. He's like, they tell him to come by himself. He stresses it's important for him to come by himself to meet them. So of course everybody else is on him and flees.
They say the exact opposite. They do not stress that, although they do tell him to come. They do not stress that he has to be alone.
They do say he has to be alone. They do say he has to be alone, but then Arbron knows he brought his friends anyway. That's what, because they do say. So he's like, of course I brought them with me.
And this is a bit of a drawn-out scene. It's very poetic, very, like, speech from the top of the hill.
But no, before that, Jake gets into a yellow convertible in the used car lot. Right. And, like, I gotta wonder if Arbron picked the yellow car in the lot because it reminded him of the yellow convertible that Elfangor drove around on the Taxon homeworld.
That's true.
Like, he probably saw the yellow car, thought of his friend, and was like, that's the thing. So what happens?
I didn't even think about that.
Jake gets into the car, the ground lowers him down like an elevator, and then he, like, slides down this dugout tunnel that's, like, sloped in the car, and it bends around and just dumps him off in this place where he's going to give his speech.
He talks about how the python is powerful. It doesn't have any natural predators. Anaconda, sorry. And it gets hungry, but it doesn't feel overwhelmed to satisfy that hunger.
Like, they eat once a month or so.
And Arbron privately talks to him. Good job. That is excellent. I think that's going to convince them. And then they get an unexpected guest.
All the Taxons leave, and Tom steps out of the shadows.
The Tom.
Well,
Tom. Controller Tom.
First, Arbron's like, that was a great speech. Get all your little friends to demorph. They'll surely be more comfortable. Jake's surprised. Like, oh no, you told me not to bring friends. Oh, and he's like, it's no use lying. Yeah, of course they're here. And then Tom steps out of the shadows, and he's got a deal.
So, Tom... I'm getting emotional now.
Hey, first, real briefly, I'll talk about how this is the last new morph of the series. Like, I'm pretty sure when Jake morphs the anaconda, that's the very last new description of morphing we get. And of course, it's done in the beautiful detail with, like, more descriptions of how you turn into an animal like this. Like, every new animal is like that, where they describe, the animal's physiology becoming yours. He talks about the scales. He talks about the length, just how long he becomes, and how he has to move his little muscles to coil up. That's the last time we're going to see them talk about a new animal.
I didn't spend enough time in that moment.
This whole book is full of moments when you really think about it, I have a bit here where, like, I'm rereading this knowing already what Jake's got planned, and I can't even joke about how sad I am. I'm almost gonna start crying in my office.
So we're only half an hour in.
It feels like way longer.
Okay. Tom says him and a couple of his personal band of Yeerks are also willing to turncoat. They just want the cube, the blade ship, and a guaranteed escape. And he will turn on Visser 1 because he personally hates him. He's like,
there's a bunch of office politics he doesn't get into, which honestly I would love. Can you imagine if it was like The Office?
Yeah.
And like fucking Visser 1 is Steve Carell's character?
And he even says, I won't need Tom's body. I can morph into Tom.
What he wants to do is, because his Yeerk self has morphing powers, where mostly it's the human controllers, like the human
Yes.
part that has the morphing powers. So he wants to keep the cube so that his Yeerk friends can actually get the morphing powers.
Like, and he's saying one thing that really sticks in Jake's head that, like, that Jake will be sort of monologuing about for a while is he specifies, Visor 1 has fucked me. I should be a sub-Visor right now.
In the single digits. Like, he should have such a high promotion.
Yeah.
He should be higher than Taylor.
Exactly. But I don't. So here's the thing. I want to go rogue. I am so bitter against Visor 1, I will give up my position in this established military to do it. And Jake says, okay, this sounds like a good idea. We all have an agreement.
Well,
but
first,
the more he thinks about it,
there is a bit where Tom also kind of blackmails him into it. Like, if you have any kind of plan to sneak into the pool ship,
right.
So your Andalite can crack the codes in an hour, and our codes recycle in an hour. Well, I changed it so they recycle every 15 minutes.
Yes.
Good luck. Like, this is your only chance. So then Jake thinks about it. There's some glaring option that he hasn't seen yet in this plan, and he figures it out.
Yes, he realized this is way too good to be true. And the reason it's too good to be true is he realizes Tom Controller, is so bitter at Visor 1 about fucking him over again and again. And that was the truth. There's no way that Tom Controller isn't just as bitter at him and the other Animorphs. Well, and he realizes...
He also thinks that Tom's, the Tom's Yeerk is so bitter, he will make a couple of mistakes. Like, he won't even think that Jake would have this kind of plan. He doesn't say what the plan is.
He doesn't.
It's only briefly alluded to.
He'll describe a lot of it coming up here, but a lot of it will literally almost until the last 10 pages be completely obscured. He says, I'm going to accept this, but we're going to have to pull some shenanigans.
He sends Marco to look for the chi. It takes Marco 3 hours?
Yeah.
And he almost dies, or even a day, and he almost dies 3 times.
Because they realize, even though Eric King and the other Chi, their houses were destroyed, the underground base of the Chi is definitely still around.
It was just the King's house that was destroyed, which makes me think that the Yeerks had caught on to who the Animorphs were and had been tracking their movements. Maybe a little bit, or they just noticed retroactively that they always hung out with the King family, so it could be just the Kings, because the underground bunker is not harmed.
True.
And the Chi are not harmed. They meet up with Eric. I have a note here where Eric's been aging his hologram so that he looks the same age as the Animorphs, so now he's 13 to 16. At first I was like, I can't decide if that's weird or not, and then I realized, well, if it's not over for the Chi, no one but the Animorphs knows about them, so he would have been pretending to age the whole time anyway.
It's interesting. I don't think they've told anyone else about the Chi.
No, I think they're the only ones that know.
Oh, well, obviously Eva and Marco's dad have to know about the Chi, because they
Marco's dad for
sure.
Sure. I don't know if Eva spent time there. I can't remember.
They get Eric. And they bring him in.
Eric's all smiles. He's like, hey, Jake. Hey, buddy. I'm so glad to see you guys are doing all right. I've been worried about you. How's it going?
He says, Eric, we have a plan. We need your help to get onto the pool ship.
Eric's like, yo, I'm programmed for pacifism. I literally can't do anything that could be violent, dude. I can't help you.
And Jake responds, I know, Eric. And that's why, if you don't help us get on the pool ship and kill as many Yeerks as we can on there, we're going to kill way more down here. And they bring out Mr. Chapman. They have him hostage. It would be almost a joke in almost every other book. Even in book 31, it was kind of a joke.
But now it's just, no, they're just going to fucking kill Chapman if Eric... He doesn't say that we're going to kill a whole bunch of Yeerks on the pool ship. He just says sneak us onto the pool ship.
Sneak us onto the pool ship, or we will kill many more people.
I'll tell Axe to kill Chapman. Like, and it will be your doing. If you sneak away, Axe will kill Chapman. Axe, are you going to kill Chapman? And Axe is just like, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I listen to orders. That's what I do now.
And Eric is pissed.
This is a good part.
He talks very quickly in a way that Jake doesn't understand. And Jake's like, what does that mean? And Eric says, it's an ancient Mesopotamian tongue that I know. One with a particularly large amount of curse words.
He just had some thoughts on your forms of ethics and personal morality that he had to get out. In ancient Mesopotamia. Fuck. And
from here on out, it's very interesting to me in this book that more so than any of the other books, they talk about Eric more like a robot than they have ever talked about him. Like, not an android, not a artificial intelligence. He's a robot.
He's a tool that they need to use. He's like an NPC in a D&D game that you need to just boss around.
They just a drone that'll kill anything you point a laser pointer, that will hack anything you point a laser pointer.
Which is really, I think that's the only way the kids got through this, and without like completely breaking down into a panic attack or a nervous breakdown, is by just completely depersonalizing everybody around them. Yeah. For some reason, it reminds me of something a high school teacher once said about, he had a friend who was a doctor. He asked his doctor friend, how do you do it? How do you go into surgery and like operate on people and not feel their pain? And the doctor friend says, oh, you just look at them as just meat. Like, they're not people. A very similar thing probably definitely happens to soldiers. Yeah. You just don't look at them as people.
Out here, I'm a surgeon. In there, I'm just a particularly careful butcher.
I've heard that quote too.
I literally just made that up.
Really? You're so smart.
Thank you. It's at this point Jake explains to James what the plan is, and he says,
well, James already comes to Jake to be like, hey, some of the kids want to like bow out. Like, Ray died. He was our friend for a couple of years. He lived with us at the hospital. They're freaking out. We don't actually want to fight anymore. Some of them don't want to fight anymore, Jake.
And wait, I'm gonna read the monologue from the wiki page, because this is brutal. I'm gonna stop describing it. I'm just gonna do it. Look, if we lose this battle, it's over. You understand me? If we lose, it's over. This is the battle. This is the last stand. So you don't like me telling you what to do. You don't like your job. You don't like me, period. I don't really care. Before this night is over, the casualties will be piled high, and some of you standing here right now will be dead. And I don't care, because we are going to win. Is that clear? We're taking that pool ship, and before this night is over, we'll have Visor 1 right here.
And this comes from the mouth of a 16-year-old boy who didn't even want to be leader in the first place. Yeah. Like...
Because, I don't think we specified. Jake is specifically putting James and the auxiliary Animorphs
on the ground.
As the distraction force.
Distraction.
The diversion with the military men who aren't even going to be able to fight back because they've specified the fucking pool ship can just go too high for any of them and cook them all with fucking Dracon
the fucking
beams.
Lasers. We'll skip ahead a little bit, but we're in the pool ship and they talk about how one of the attacks they do is they just turn on like very low power and slowly, but like quickly, like over the course of 5 or 10 minutes, just burn you alive. With the heat getting higher. Like, everybody knows this part is the suicide mission part.
This is where the metaphor of being a child soldier finally came to rest for me. Like, throughout the book, none of the Animorphs have died. None of them.
Marco did once in book 10, and Eric brought him back, no problem.
Like, none of the named main cast Animorphs have died. And that just, it really blunted the metaphor for a very long time. But today, in this book, in the final stretch, we finally see 17 disabled children. Somebody less able to make a decision than even our main cast. Somebody less, 17 people even more vulnerable than the children we've been following, get sent as shock troops into a field, and they all die. All 17.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But that's... God, this is so... It changes the context of the entire series. This is no longer... In a lot of ways, this does change the context of the entire series that it's been building to this point. And I still don't know how to feel about it. I know I feel shock. I know I feel awe, but I don't know what I should feel in a lot of ways while I'm going through those.
I will mention it is very tropey. Like, it's a very prominent ableist trope where the disabled characters are the ones that are going to die. It also feels like that's almost the point in this one. Like, it's yeah, like it's...
They needed...
It's terrible.
They needed somebody even more vulnerable than our child main characters to be ordered by our child main characters.
I mean, they don't have the fighting experience. These kids are probably the equivalent. I mean, they've been in some really brutal battles, so they've upgraded a bit, but they're probably the equivalent of like book 15 kids. They've been through some really hard battles, but also like they still are pretty innocent.
Yeah.
And now they're just going on what they all know to be as a suicide run for the sake of humanity.
It's about here. Somebody said crap in the book. I think at this point, somebody said the word crap.
At least, but I think they said crap before.
Okay. But
we do. Were you going to talk about how Jake pulls Rachel's side?
Yes. I was going to say I'm going to start going in sort of rapid fire because this is all very much like the plan going off, very actiony, not as many of these slow, steady scenes
just
of building up to it.
There's a just before there's a bit where Jake pulls Rachel aside and says, "I have a plan for you," and explains it, and Rachel asks, "Dude, are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
If you say you want me to do it, I'll fucking do it, but are you sure?" And Jake says he's sure. And he doesn't tell us what the plan is.
He doesn't tell us. Yes.
He doesn't tell anyone what the plan is.
It's the opposite. What's the opposite of dramatic irony?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's some kind of... It's not even foreshadowing because it's just like, it's going to happen. It's just some kind of omitted detail that's omitted for a reason. But now, here we are. The plan is about to go off.
The plan is going off. They arrive
Tom is in a Jeep.
Tom is in a Jeep with a Dork-Bajir. Cassie is in the back in a battered morph suit with her face all fucked up.
She's all like hogtied and everything.
Hogtied, all that shit.
Jake
flies.
He flies into the car in Peregrine Falcon morph.
Yeah. Jake and the rest of them, supposedly the rest of them, all land on her in Flymorph, and Tom is like, had to break her up a little to make it look good. Did
almost
I do
bruise
good work?
My knuckles.
Yeah.
And
Jake just, you shut the fuck up right now. I will end this fucking deal.
That was like, you're a hair away from fucking snapping, Jake boy.
You're walking on thin ice. But he specifies at this point that he sees Cassie's eye open, and with his bug vision, he can see, though, there's a little bit of that ivory and titanium under there. It's not Cassie. It's Eric. This is how they're getting him in. The other Animorphs are around, but it's not specified exactly where.
They describe them as being fleas, and it's assumed that they are fleas on Jake's body.
Yes. They get in. Tom says to Visor 1, I have captured this Animorph. I will, and we can find and destroy the others with the information from this one, because I know that they are planning to sneak on a blade ship, and it's this point he starts giving more information than they agreed to, because he thinks they're all creatures that don't have hearing on Cassie's body. he gives up the goat, not only on the Animorphs' plans to infiltrate, not only that the military is just a distraction, but he has a Dork-Bajir haul in a Taxxon and says, "This Taxxon admitted to me that he and many others were planning on betraying you. Now," and Visser 1 is like, wait a minute, how the fuck do I know that's true? How do I know that Taxxon isn't just an Animorph and Morph? No,
he
this is
doesn't.
way
I'm
too
pretty
fucked.
sure he doesn't say that. He, I mean, maybe he does say that part, but he's just like, what makes you think your plan is so sure? Also,
Yeah.
like, what makes you think the other Animorphs are not here already?
Yes.
And Tom's like, well, you know what? They're probably actually morphed onto this one.
Yeah.
Have the Taxxon eat Cassie.
And he also specified, Tom asks, "Let me take the blade ship and go soften up the Taxxons at the pool construction site." And
Well,
that's how he will get the...
You stay
blade
here
ship.
and deal with the Animorph
Mhm.
distraction with the wave of, like, soldiers that are going to come.
Yes.
Because he also tells him about that. So the Taxxon eats Cassie, and Cassie dies in a very gory fashion. In
Quote,
front of
unquote.
us. You see it in hologram form.
But
And the Taxxon doesn't respond to eating air because it's Tobias and Morph. The Dork-Bajir are Toby's free Dork-Bajir.
yes.
This is such a fucking good plan.
Yes. It's at this point Tom leaves to go get his blade ship, thinking that he has outsmarted at least one of the Animorphs and successfully killed them, not realizing that all these fucking points are all plotted out. It's also at this point now all the Animorphs regather together and then morph further away in the blade ship to remorph again.
Then there's Axe and Marco take Eric to the engineering room
Yes.
to try and do some stuff in the
but-
ship, but Jake stays in Flymorph.
Yes, but they all briefly, as they like, as they contro, or what's
They confer.
confer? Yeah.
They confer in the supply closet. I forgot
Marco's
this
like,
part.
yes. Marco is like, wait a minute, where the heck is Rachel? And Jake simply says, she can take care of herself. Don't worry about it.
And Cassie asks, no, actually, literally, where is she?
And Jake just says, she can take care of herself.
No, he does say that she's with
Right.
Tom.
Oh,
doesn't he?
right.
At this point?
No. This
That's
isn't
a
until
later point.
it's at later when things start getting even hotter.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This time
Um,
he just says she can take care of herself.
Yeah.
This is the plan. You guys are going to go to the engineering room. I'm going to go up front and watch Visser 1.
Yes. He lands literally on Visser 1.
In between the ice docks, where
Yes.
Axe has said that's the most difficult part to see on yourself.
And it's
You're in
here
light.
we just watch as the human military approaches the pool ship along with the 17 auxiliary Animorphs.
Well, first they're
lift
gonna
up.
they're gonna do that whole let's raise the temperature and watch these military soldiers just start to boil alive, and then they see a rhino explode out the front and start.
Well,
whipping at
what
the
I'm
guards.
describing is that like when they see them coming, they just raise up so that they can't be reached.
They don't. They only raise up the temperature for the soldiers. Then
No,
when
they
see-
don't raise the temperature. They physically raise the pool ship so that ground soldiers can't reach them.
Oh yeah, okay. There we go. Sorry, I was
And then they
misunderstanding
do
what
that-
you were saying.
And then they do that.
They fly
temperature
into the sky.
raise.
You said raise up, and I thought you meant they're like. It's like
No,
they don't.
no.
They don't raise up the temperature.
And until
They
Jake gets the signal from Marco and the others
when they see the animals. The point I was going to make was when they see the animals, the auxiliary
Yeah.
Animorphs, they don't raise the temperature. He stops that plan. Instead, focus a beam and let me watch these creatures die.
Yes. Oh, God, there is some of the goriest imagery in the entire series in this just like half a page, 1.5 pages maybe, like just stretch, and it's hard. It's hard to read.
Yeah,
Oh God.
because like he says a lot of their names too.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, I saw Kelly as the bull, just sawed in half. Visser 1 is cackling. He's like, record this part. I can't wait to watch it again.
And about the time the last auxiliary Animorph dies is when they start experiencing engine troubles. And Jake realizes
Well, I think they try to raise the temperature again, but the guns aren't working. And they can't break the
guns,
atmosphere.
The guns are still working. They are in low orbit at this point. And something starts happening in the engine room, which makes Visor 1 extremely paranoid. And he realizes, and somebody says there's an animal attack going on in the engine room, and he's like, what? No. Every single soldier outside the engine room right fucking now. And he goes down, leaves the helm bare, and gets literally every single soldier with a Dracon beam lined up in front of the engine room and just just Valentine's Day massacres it.
This is when the kids escape the engine room as bugs, I think.
Yes,
they sneak out.
they hide
in another closet.
In like a vent or another closet. They were all like the engine room isn't just this big massive chamber, so there were nooks and crannies to hide in. So even though Visor 1 got super paranoid and just tried to cook this whole thing, they escape into the vents, and this time they are really grilling Jake. They're like, seriously, we need to know where Rachel is. What if she died out there? What if she was a fly and she got shot? And Jake realizes, I can't have them worrying about her right now. Rachel is with Tom. I had her stick to him, and she...
Marco realizes it instantly. He's like, oh, that's the plan. Okay.
And Tobias is furious. She is, as the one that's alone, making sure that Tom cannot go all the way and completely destroy all of them. That she is the one in the most danger. His girlfriend is in the most danger, and neither she nor his leader, his friend, like in a lot of ways since the beginning, his hero. Like the way Tobias and Jake met, even though they were never even that close before this, was Jake saved him from a bully. The metaphor for a savior. The thing that when you want to say someone is a good person in a kid's book, you talk about them beating up somebody who's hurting someone else.
Yeah.
That guy. That good guy.
That all-around good guy you can trust.
Lied to you. And told your girlfriend to do it too.
Yeah. You couldn't even, you didn't even know. You didn't even say goodbye before she left.
And she might be murdered miles away from all of us. I did not expect to feel all these feelings.
Animorphs does that to you, man.
What the fuck are we gonna do in book 54?
Oh, I know.
What are we gonna do? What the fuck is gonna happen? I have no idea. I have no idea where any of this goes from here. I'm scared, Tessa.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Welcome, Brayden, to my hell of loving Animorphs. It's lovely here. I'm so glad that we started this in fucking 2017. It has been almost 3 years of me waiting until you understand. Do you want to reread the books after all this? We'll take a couple months to break, but then, I'll probably jump right in. Anyway, Jake takes control of the situation. He's like, we have a plan. We've got to do it.
We got to get back.
And they go back to the
pool.
The pool. They pass by the pool on their way to the bridge. And Axe says, oh, hey, the pool has, a flush function. And Jake's like, okay, that's weird. And then Axe says, hey, so the pool has 17,000
You're saying
years.
this very casually. But they go to the pool. They realize.
I feel like Axe just suggests it, but Jake doesn't know what he's suggesting at first. And he's like, what are you talking about?
And they realize this pool has to be able to be cleaned, which means the water has to be able to be drained.
There's a flush function where it just jettisons it all out to space.
And
there's 17,000 defenseless Yeerks in the pool.
Ones who have never had a host.
Ones who have
Ones who just...
These are the ones who have been in space for 3 years. These are not the ones that have fought in the war.
And Jake, I don't know if this is the first time, but I think this is the most pungent, most effective.
This is the second time. There was a time in book 21 where they fried the
but
Yeerks,
like his internal monologue becomes very much like about realizing the weight of killing 17,000 people, non-human people, but people all the same. Mm-hmm. And then immediately starting to rationalize it. It's not my fault. They chose to come here. It's not my fault. Visser 1 ordered them to do this. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault for this reason. It's not my fault for this reason. Flush them. And all that water and all those lives go out in space and immediately become crystals. And to this point, I was expecting them to go up to Visser 1. He's going to morph something big, and they're going to fight it, and they're finally, by mad coincidence, going to get that throat slash on whatever morph he's in. Or he's going to morph into Alaran, and they're going to slap the cuffs on him. Or they're going to make the Yeerk retreat, and Alaran will be there, and they can grab Visser 1 and just twist him, and he's fucking dead. But that's not what happens. They go to Visser 1, who they have known since he had a different name, who we have known since he had a different name, since he was so far down the chain of command that he was in the bottom of we have known this guy since he was a slug who had nothing but dreams of being something else. And we see this tyrant, this warrior, this schemer simply look at them and say, well, it's over. I'm not going to fight you on this.
Like, he comes to the bridge and they're all in battle morphs, and he's like, yeah, I guess you've won this round. What they want, their plan now, Jake tells Visser 1, is that the blade ship's going to come around and try to blow up the pool ship. And there's enough juice, like they left enough juice in the cannon so that they could get off. Like, they can't really direct them, but they've got maybe 1 or 2 lucky shots to try and take out the blade ships.
They describe one of the guys on one of the other Yeerks on the in the cockpit says, Visser, something is draining our cannons. We have enough for 2 very light shots. And Jake tries to call out to Eric and say, like, Jake...
I think Axe finds this himself. Originally they were going to have 2, like, they were going to have, like, not very many shots because they did shut down the guns so that they would stop attacking the soldiers. But they would have a couple. And then,
Eric
is draining so that even those last 2 shots that they could have are going to be ineffectual. They're at 15%.
Yeah. And we see Visser 1, Visser 3... Esplin 9466 just giving up, just saying, we have to try, fire the shots. Bang, bang, they miss. Visser, we're being hailed. Yes, I suppose we have to play this out. He describes it. They are playing this out.
Visser 1 is a hardened soldier in his own right. Aloran, who he's infested, is another hardened soldier in his own right. They both know, like, it's like, okay, this is the end game. I'm the losing party. These are the lines that I have to say. So he goes on to the Skype call with Tom in the blade ship.
Starts bragging, obviously. Visser 1, I have outsmarted you. I have your blade ship and the morphing cube. And wait a fucking minute, is that a tiger in the background? Holy shit, fire it out now. And Jake says, Rachel, go.
And the book ends. Next week, we'll be talking about book not 54. I'm sorry. You are going to have to wait 2 weeks to hear about that, because next week, we're going to talk about the Elemist Chronicles, which is a book I've read only once when I was a teenager, and I was like a little uncomfortable in parts. Like, it felt like the book was smarter than I was, and I did not like that, and I didn't get parts of it, so I'm excited to reread that again, because I haven't read it since. Also, the cover freaked me out when I was a kid, so I didn't pick it up for a very long time. But Brayden, do you want to take a look at that cover and offer me up some predictions?
Okay, so we get our first visual depiction, I believe. I don't think he definitely hasn't been on a cover, and I don't think he's ever been on any inside covers.
No, he's not.
But we see,
as far as I know,
the Elemist making himself out of a smoky gray-black background into what sort of looks like a classic depiction of an elf. Big beard, big long white hair with volume to it, where you can tell like the mustache and the beard meet, but you can still tell what hair is mustache and what hair is beard. He's wispy, he's small. I'm not getting much from the cover, honestly.
So if we go by the chronicles as like either a period in someone's life, or what if I spoil it for you and it's kind of like the Elemist's memoir, like record scratch at the beginning. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this place. Well, let me tell you. How would you guess the story went?
I have sort of bounced around the theory. The Axe and some other Andalites, I think, have mentioned that Elemist used to be a species, and then they invented the time matrix, and then they disappeared, and then they started popping up doing shit like what the Elemist has been doing to them this whole time. I wrote in an essay kind of inspired by honestly, I just completely stole the premise from Madoka Magica. This idea that using the time matrix, the Elemists got themselves stuck in a cycle of the Elemist race became sort of stuck in a time cycle, but being conscious creatures, even inside of a time cycle, like the mind sees things, and eventually they realize they were in a time loop and managed to sort of essentially, I don't know how to explain it, but watch Puella Magi Madoka Magica if you want to kind of know what I mean. Basically, in it, Madoka is at the center of a time loop, and because of that, she becomes one of the most powerful witches in the world, completely outside of her own control. I believe we are going to perhaps follow the life of a single Elemist who maybe becomes like the core of this collective intelligence that represents that through a single non-body, through a single identity, represents the entirety of the Elemist race. And that's where they get their power, sort of representing that a big theme, I think, throughout this is that all of the Animorphs have been stronger together. And the Elemist, I think, is going to represent that there is so many people together that they are the most powerful being in the world. Set, of course, in stark contrast to Krayak, a singular being affecting the world in such a powerfully negative way through his power. The Drode is deliberately put beside him to let you know this is an individual. Krayak is an individual who interacts with other individuals. The Elemist is something more. That was just absolutely off the rails, but I hope in it I found some grain of truth.
Before we wrap up, I did ask on Twitter what y'all would use an Anaconda morph for purely personal reasons. We got a couple responses. Movie Polls would do a viral video slithering into some buns. Classic. Dylan at Dylan Stoney would do very similar. Go to a talent show, perform Nicki Minaj's Anaconda song through ThoughtSpeak, and win whatever that prize money is while you're morphed as Anaconda.
And last but not least for this week's episode, Reefer at MothBaby626 tells us they would pop cans open with my body. And honestly, maybe strangle select people for business or recreation.
Nice. We are probably not going to have a lot of little segments in the Elemist Chronicles or in Book 54, but
you'll notice we did not do them in this book because this one took a while.
But we are going to be having a series wrap-up episode similar to what we did at the end of the TV show the week following the Book 54 one. So next week is the Elemist Chronicles, the week after that is Book 54, and the week after that is going to be a final wrap-up episode. So please, there's going to be a tweet pinned to our Twitter. There's going to be a post made on Facebook. If you have questions or thoughts or anything you want us to discuss or like converse about, please leave your comments on, please leave your comments and queries there. If you don't want to wait till next week, though, and you want to remember some happier Animorphs times, well, you can find all of our past episodes, Andalite name generators, and spicy Animorphs memes over on our Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, or else your first Andalite name is going to be Olaran.
My name is Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Brayden, the Radagak Escaril Isthil. Fuck. Or something like that. Damn it. Wait. And this has been...
This has been Fanmorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles. And I've been Ithilaran Iskilion Chorus, which is, I'm like a granddaughter to a Lauren, because he's a Lauren Sumter Chorus. And I'm okay with that. Hi, Granddad! Hi!